So shall we start? In the oblivious field of mortal mind, revealed to the closed prophet eyes of trance, in some deep internal solitude, witnessed by a strange immaterial sense, the signals of eternity appear. Again, the same thing, that there is a different inner layer to our nature. There, it is not the surface mind or the surface understanding. The surface mind, he calls it ignorant, oblivious. Oblivious, it's forgotten. Mind is an instrument of knowledge. It has forgotten the truth. It is looking after chasing the truth, but it's a surface, you might say, knowledge that it is looking for. Whereas the true knowledge is knowledge by identity. You have to become what you know. And so, in this mortal mind, in the oblivious field of mortal mind, oblivion is forgetting. So we have forgotten our real selves. Revealed to the closed prophet eyes of trance. When we go deep within, then we have a direct connection with reality. The prophet is one who does not try to explain or to understand, who knows by a simple, absolutely certain connection with reality. He knows because he has seen it. A prophet sees, a prophet hears, a prophet knows by some deep other sense. It is not our surface senses. We live on the surface. There is also another part in our nature. That part really knows. It sees. Therefore, in some deep internal solitude, if we go within and not remain on the surface, witnessed by a strange immaterial sense. So another vision. It is not our physical senses. It is seen by another deeper sense. The signals of eternity appear. This is the true seeing. This is the true hearing when we become really one with the reality. The truth mind could not know unveils its face. Mind judges, explains, tries to justify, doubts. Therefore, we can't see the absolute reality. But here it is no longer the mind. The truth that mind could not know unveils its face. We hear what mortal ears have never heard. The inner hearing, the inner seeing. This was known as drishti, shruti. There is a deeper hearing, the hearing of the spirit, which is not the hearing of the mind or the physical senses. There is a deeper seeing. It is not the seeing of the surface nature. So this is what happens when we find that inner dimension in our nature, when we live in that inner part of our being. We have a direct connection with truth. We hear what mortal ears have never heard. We feel what earthly sense has never felt. It's gone beyond the material, the physical, the hearing, the senses. Seeing, hearing, touching, they are not things that relate us to the surface experiences. There is an inner world and there is an inner seeing. If we take our stand within, that is the main thing. If we take our stand within and not rely on our surface experience. We love what common hearts repel and dread. The common heart that is afraid because we have to give up our surface nature. And that is what the surface being does not like. It has dominated us for so many centuries. We have to become our true self. The surface being doesn't like to become the true self. It is so dependent on surface experiences. So we love what common hearts, and that is the vast majority of mankind, and for the most part we live in that state. We are afraid of that. We don't like it. Our minds hush to a bright omniscient. To know the truth, the mind has to be completely silent. You have to have a direct vision. This is what Sri Aurobindo understood very early on, that as long as the mind comes in the way, you cannot know the truth. You'll know only what aspect of the truth your little mind can grasp. If you can become absolutely calm, quiet, then the truth will reflect itself in the inner being. So that is the first condition, chitta vritti nirodha. Silence the activities of the mind. And that is the great experience that Lele helped Sri Aurobindo to acquire. Our minds hush to a bright omniscient. A voice calls from the chambers of the soul. It's not the external world. From within, we have a whole universe inside us. Because within us is the divine. And the divine is infinite. But we don't turn our gaze within, we turn our gaze outside. A voice calls from the chambers of the soul. We meet the ecstasy of the Godhead's touch in golden privacies of immortal fire. So that sense of being completely swept away, identified with that essential reality which is our self. For that, the surface self has to become completely silent, passive. This is there in all. The possibilities are there in all. Very few make this effort. Most of us are turned outwards. We make our judgments and our conclusions, we draw our conclusions from all surface experiences. But even if there is one man who can do it, it means it can be done. So these signs are native to a larger self. Man is infinitely vast. He is a creation, a child of the infinite, and he can be infinitely vast. These signs are native to a larger self that lives within us. It is there, by ourselves unseen. There is an inner self and there is an outer self. The outer self neglects, forgets, ignores, denies that there is another presence. Only sometimes a holier influence comes. Now and then, perhaps, there is an inflow of some kind of inspiration, some revelation, some experience that comes. Only sometimes a holier influence comes. A tide of mightier surgings bears our lives, as if we are carried up by waves of power, of truth, of knowledge, and a diviner presence moves the soul. The individual that has allowed itself to be covered over by darkness. From time to time, this diviner presence sweeps away the outer coverings. And the beautiful thing is that it is there for all, if we make that little effort. Or through the earthly coverings, something breaks. A grace and beauty of spiritual light. So matter and spirit. The spirit is not the opposite of matter. The spirit is there in matter. But matter is dense, is thick, and hides the spirit, the soul, the consciousness. But if we can open ourselves to that grace and beauty of spiritual light, he speaks of beauty very often because it is the expression of the divine manifestation in matter. Beauty is that, the manifestation of the divine in matter. A grace and beauty of spiritual light, the murmuring tongue of a celestial fire. A voice speaks. It speaks quietly. Some kind of revelation, inspiration, vision. This is what happened to the rishis. When the surface being becomes silent, there is a kind of a divine flame, a celestial fire that really burns down our surface resistances. Then what happens? Our self and a high stranger whom we feel. That other stranger is our true self. But we are so unaccustomed to turn to that. Sometimes, therefore, when we go within, we feel that we are something more than what we think we are. Ourself and a high stranger whom we feel, it is, and acts unseen as if it were not. Very quietly, very discreetly, the change takes place. All our change, all our growth is not really a change on the outside. It's a change of consciousness. And that happens quietly from within. So, it is something that acts as if it were not. It does not draw attention to itself. But one day we might find that I have become different. I'm no longer the person I was. When did I start changing? I'm not sure. But things take their own course. There is a rhythm, there is a pattern in the inner world as well as on the outer world. It is and acts unseen as if it were not. It follows the line of sempiternal birth, from life to life. Sempiternal is eternal. This is the evolution of consciousness. You can make it happen in one birth if you are very, very concentrated. Otherwise, we are on earth to grow, whether we like it or not, whether we want it or not. There is a change that takes place. Slowly, without our knowledge, there is a development of consciousness. And this development of consciousness can be hastened if we really do tapasya, if we really take to the spiritual life. Otherwise, the whole play of nature is to bring the consciousness out of the, you might say, the grip of inertia, which is matter. It takes long. Matter is hard, it is dense. Our surface nature is what we call ourselves. Within us there is another person whom we don't know. It takes a long time. Sometimes a few blows are required. Otherwise, through long time and experience, birth after birth, there is a gradual upward curve that takes place. It follows the line of sempiternal birth, yet seems to perish with its mortal frame. Death is just an incident. It starts again from where it left off. Because we don't perhaps have the energy to maintain this effort of evolution continuously, we come to a point where we give up. But then we start from where we left off. And therefore, out of the world of matter, life and mind, and slowly out of mind, something more than mind is gradually emerging. In the individual, in the earth consciousness, everywhere, there is a slow upward movement. There is, at the same time, an equal amount of resistance. Because these changes are not without opposition. Whenever something wants to emerge, the opposite forces try to bring it down. And so in the world of man, in his collective or his individual life, there are all kinds of forces that try to hamper, hinder his march. It is this that makes the march meaningful. We have to break out of our dullness, our acceptance of imperfection. We are not imperfect. We are on the surface only, but we don't live really. We learn that inside us there is a divine presence. And that is what has to come out slowly into the open. It follows the line of sempiternal birth, yet seems to perish with its mortal frame. Assured of the apocalypse to be, apocalypse is really the revelation. It's not a holocaust, it's not a destruction. Eventually there will be a full manifestation of light. This is there. The end is already what makes the beginning meaningful. It's always the goal that gives significance to a journey. So the apocalypse is the end, the full manifestation of light, of beauty, of perfection. And that is sure, he says. Assured of the apocalypse to be, it reckons not the moments and the hours. It takes time. Reckoning is calculation, judging. Yes, it is taking so long. Man takes very long to change. But when we live in eternity and the divine consciousness is eternal, it doesn't matter if it takes a little while. It may take a few thousand years. But the goal has already been finalized. Great, patient, calm. It sees the centuries pass. You see the presence of the divine consciousness. It's absolutely quiet. Things don't happen according to our, you might say, calculations. Why are things taking so long to change? They're taking long to change because they've been there for a very long time. All the imperfections have been there. They have to be rooted out one after the other. But the end has already been decided. So it has to be worked on. Slowly all the different elements that resist, that hurt, that harm, they have to be made to disappear. Awaiting the slow miracle of our change. This is what man is. Man is a miracle. Man is more than man. Man is not a mental being. He is only on the surface a mental being. He is a mortal. He is also immortal. He is a projection of the divine, a child of the divine. Slowly, this is what we have to live. Change the stand that we have taken. We have taken the stand that we are simply beings who live in mortal time, limited creatures, imperfect creatures. Out of this imperfection, the perfection has to emerge. Mother was very fond of an analogy that was given by the Buddha, because she had studied Buddhism very closely, that the manifestation of the lotus that comes out of the mud, it grows out of the mud, slowly becoming an expression of perfection. Lotus is consciousness, conscious perfection. And its starting point is dirt, is filth. This is man. Out of his nature, slowly the flowering of consciousness will happen. That is the miracle. This is in the sure, deliberate process of world force. Deliberate is really that. To deliberate is to think very carefully, consciously. Therefore, when you do something deliberately, you do it for a reason, there is a purpose. So these play of forces that take place in the world, sometimes you ask yourself, why do such terrible movements happen? They are planned by some universal wisdom. If they come up to the surface, only then they can be wiped off. It's like a churning. They can't be suppressed forever. All the errors and all the darknesses that mental man tried to push down with his notion of morality and virtue, they have to be replaced by the emerging of these forces of darkness so that they can be cleansed, they can be wiped off. So this is the deliberate process of world force and the long march of all revealing time. It is the origin and the master clue. This is the origin, this goal of perfection is the starting point, it is the journey, it is the goal. Because we are born from the divine, our goal is perfection. A silence overhead, an inner voice. It is not mind that questions and doubts and makes a great deal of argumentation. When you go beyond the mind, above the mind, you become calm, quiet, you can reflect the eternal peace, or an inner voice. What is above is also what is within. A living image seated in the heart. This is what we are. We are not just a surface being. Deep inside us is this presence, a living image. On the surface, life is half alive. But deep inside, a living image seated in the heart, an unwalled wideness, infinitely vast and of fathomless point, infinitely small. This is the whole beauty. What is infinitely small, immeasurably small? Each particle is the infinite. Each moment and second is also the eternal. The oppositions come only when we are mental beings. The small is the opposite of the great or the vast. No. Whatever is the divine, whether the divine chooses to manifest himself in the infinite or whether he chooses to manifest himself in the finite. It's for him to decide. Therefore, an unwalled wideness and a fathomless point, the truth of all these cryptic shows in space. What is happening on the surface is only a show. It's a big drama. We take the show to be absolutely the reality. Cryptic is significant. They are difficult always to explain, but something that is cryptic always contains another truth. A cryptic phrase hides another deeper truth. You say something cryptic, you say what is there, but actually you see what is behind the surface. So all this world of life and time is only a show. Reality and the divine presence and consciousness is at work behind. So that is the clue. If you take that as your understand, clue is that which helps you to solve a puzzle or a riddle. So if you have a connection with that inner presence, then you see the whole play in a different way. Otherwise you say, why are things like this happening? Why is there this pain and suffering and falsehood, because they are there on the surface. You take that to be the final truth. The real, that's why. That is the truth, that is the true reality, towards which our strivings move. The secret, grandiose meaning of our lives. It's a very beautiful passage that starts here. The secret, splendid, grandiose meaning of our lives. We are here not just to live for a while and then go away. We are slowly becoming expressions of that reality. We have to pass through all kinds of different stages, but the purpose is something else. The whole universe is compared to a honeycomb, but the honey is the essence, the sweetness. And therefore, one of the names of the divine also in Sanskrit is Madhu, is honey. A treasure of honey in the combs of God. The divine essence behind all things. A splendor. This is the secret, grandiose meaning. A splendor burning in a tenebrous cloak. Tenebrous is dark. The outer surface is dark. Behind that is light. There is no such thing as darkness, finally. Darkness is a covering, is a veil. When the falsehood goes away, the darkness goes away. So this treasure is our true self. It is our glory of the flame of God, our golden fountain of the world's delight, an immortality cowled in the cape of death, the shape of our unborn divinity. That divinity in us has not yet manifested, but it is already there, cowled, covered, hooded, but it is there. So this is the true reason why we are on the earth, to become our true self. Gradually to pass through all kinds of experiences so that we realize what we really are. It guards for us our fate in depths within. This is our fate, to become that true self. That is waiting for the right time to emerge. Today, if suddenly we were to manifest the divine, that would be a very imperfect manifestation, because the surface being would still be impure, imperfect, so the expression also would not be right. But it is waiting. There is a time for everything. There's a very beautiful phrase he uses, Sri Aurobindo. Ripeness is all. There is a right time for everything. So, it is our glory of the flame of God, an immortality cowled in the cape of death, the shape of our unborn divinity. Unborn, not yet manifested. Unborn also means eternal. That doesn't take birth because it has always been there. It has both meanings. We are infinite, we are eternal. And that eternity and infinity has not manifested itself yet. It guards for us our fate in depths within. This is our fate. This is man. Man who is a child of God. But it has to find the right time, the right stage in which to manifest itself. Where sleeps the eternal seed of transient things. In the world of temporary manifestation, which is transience, the divine is present. The eternal is there in everything. On the surface, everything passes, nothing lasts. Behind it all, there is a divine wisdom which is permanent and eternal. Always we bear in us a magic key. This is there. Only if we turn within, we find that this is our true self. Always we find in us a magic key, concealed in life's hermetic envelope. Otherwise, the surface life is really so different from what is perfect and so eternal. That's an envelope which is really tight and well shut, but deep inside is the divine. So the whole thing is that we have to go deep within. We have to find that inner dimension in the nature. That inner presence is always there. This is the wisdom, this is the presence that doesn't get disturbed by surface appearances. This is the burning witness in the sanctuary, regards through time and the blind walls of form. A timeless light is in his hidden eyes. This is the Purusha. It's undisturbed. It watches. It is untroubled. He sees the secret no words can speak. Because mental language can't express this. This has to be an experience. This timeless witness sees the secret no words can speak and knows the goal of the unconscious world. The unconscious world doesn't know that there is a goal. We are here to live for a while and then go die. It is not for nothing that the divine has created the universe. If the world is made, he had a plan. That plan we can't see. So we say all this is just a temporary experience. Is it Maya? Is it something that is made to be wiped off? This is what the surface mind will decide or think. The wisdom within knows there's a different purpose, there's a different plan. He knows the goal of the unconscious world and the heart of the mystery of the journeying years. Time is moving towards that. Mystery is that which is unknown. Mystery is also that which is sacred, the sacred knowledge. All things have this inner reason for moving towards its goal. But for us, at present, it doesn't seem like that. It is hidden. But all is screened, subliminal, mystical. It's below the veil. Subliminal is behind the veil. It needs the intuitive heart, the inward turn. You don't see with your eyes, you see with your inner experience. You live that truth. Sometimes you have moments of connection with that inner existence. That is when you have a moment of inspiration, a moment of intuition, of revelation. Then you say, this is the reason why we are. Otherwise, we don't know what is happening. It needs the intuitive heart, the inward turn. Again and again this turn within. It needs the power of a spiritual gaze. Else, to our waking mind, small moment look, mind is very shallow. It sees only the surface. And a clever mind sees things and tries to relate cause to effect and say, this is the reason why this has happened, because that is what preceded it. This is a very shallow, momentary vision. Else to our waking mind, small moment look, a goalless voyage seems our dubious course. We live to die. It makes no sense. Some chance has settled. Why is it that we are? For a while we are and then we are no longer there. Some force has made it happen. We don't know what force. Therefore, chance is a word we use when we can't explain the true reality. It's a word that our ignorance has coined. Some chance has settled or hazarded some will. Something has been perhaps attempted by some unknown force or a necessity. Necessity is a law that is inherent to an event. When something is there, it contains its own consequences. It has to be like this. So, this is how we explain in the world of matter. When I throw something up in the air, it will fall to the ground. It is part of the law. It is not a question of choice. Some or a necessity without aim or cause, unwillingly compelled to emerge and be. This is our course. In this dense field, where nothing is plain or sure, because our vision is so vague and clouded, we can't see things absolutely the way they should be. Our very being seems to us questionable. Say, what is this for? Who are we? We are here for a while and then we are no longer there. Our life, a vague experiment. The soul, if there is one, I don't know. Something, I am not just a body, I know. I am not just a mind and life. There is something else I sometimes feel inside me. So I call it a soul. A flickering light in a strange, ignorant world. That is why the soul seems completely out of place in the world of body, life and mind which have taken over our existence. The soul is so little, you can say, it doesn't have a place. Nobody is concerned with this. So you say, yes, maybe there is a soul. I am not just this. Maybe I have another part in my being. I am not very sure. Because I am ignorant. The world is ignorant. The soul is not ignorant. I am ignorant. The earth, a brute mechanic accident. You speak of the earth, you speak of the Big Bang, you speak of, these physical bodies that were thrown out into space. We don't know why, by whom. A net of death in which, by chance, we live. We are here for a little while. All we have learnt appears a doubtful guess. Whatever we have learnt in the past is being wiped off. New things are being constantly, you might say, invented, discovered. All the opinions and all the decisions of the past are being revived, renewed, altered, wiped off. It is something that is continuously moving. Why? The achievement done, a passage or a phase. This is our mental life, whose farther end is hidden from our sight. A chance happening or a fortuitous fate. Fortuitous is again chance. You say fate, it has to be, but why does it have to be? Why do we have to be the way we are? We don't know. The whole point is that we don't know. Out of the unknown, we move to the unknown. This is how we are. So this is the state of man who is so proud of his intelligence, of his mind. He has to end up by accepting that he doesn't know much. He can't explain the purpose of things. He can't explain why these are. So out of the unknown, we move into the unknown. Okay?